national anthem and the FEU multi-faith prayer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, peres ng sinamana, alam ng puso, sa libig mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, buyan ka ng pag-ibig, sa manlulubi, di ka pasisingin, sa dagat at bundok, sa simulan, sa langit mababa, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kistat ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdilingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may limang didilim. Lupa ng araw na wala ating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang iligaya na pa ay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Glory to Almighty.
For gathering us today. Give us the fortitude
to conquer life's challenges.
Inspire us to excel and to be upright in everything we do.
guide us to remain united
In diversity.
To serve and love one another. Amen.
May I now ask everyone to please sit down. Students, faculty, guests, and poets, good afternoon. Welcome to Verse Opener, the Open Mic Series. My name is Ashley Ignacio,
And I'm Roel E. Halyorina Jr.
and we're your MCs for today.
This day could not get any better. Other than the heat taking over us, yes, napakainit, but with the grace of poetry and beauty of passion that's enveloping in this room, I think we could beat the heat.
Today is a very special day. If you ask why, this is because this room is filled with very important people. And I'm not talking about those that you see on TV or read about in the news. I'm talking about each and every one of you.
We're gathered in this hall to talk about you, me, us. We're going to talk about Filipinos.
But Filipinos, isn't that a vague term? It could mean a lot of things. It could be a nationality, a language. But in this context, what is Filipino?
That's a very good question, Ash. In this context, we're going to talk about the resiliency of the Filipinos, their passion and love for a country that goes beyond boundaries of what's possible for us. But today, we're no ordinary people. Starting from now, each of us brings a story that could be an eye-opener from everyone around.
With that in mind, we would like to call on the Associate Dean of Institute of Arts and Sciences, Mr. Genesis Borja, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
Thank you. To our Chair Emeritus, Dr. Lourdes Montinola. To our Senior Vice President for Corporate Affairs, Attorney Kiana Montinola. To the Center of the Arts Director, Sir Martin Lopez. Student Development Director, Rachel Montal. Department Chair of Language and Literature Studies, Dr. Emmanuel Gonzalez. To the Deans, Directors, Department Chairs, and FEU administrators joining us here and online. To our guest speaker, National Artist for Literature, Dr. Gemino Abad. To our fellow educators, guests and participants, physically present or maybe online. This is a hybrid program that we have now, a very pleasant afternoon. For decades, the Department of Language and Literature Studies of the Far Eastern University has been conducting its annual Open Mic Series, an activity in which our faculty and students showcase their creativity in writing and skills in reading their own poems. In fact, this program received the Excellence Award for Special and Experiential Events in the recently concluded 19th Quill Awards 2022. Congratulations to everyone who made it possible. This year, our theme is Open Verse, a concluded 19th Quill Awards 2022. Our participants shall demonstrate their ability to openly express themselves. More to these, our listeners will also be able to ponder and reflect as they share their lived experiences through this art. Being untraditional or modern, we can say that indeed, literature, poetry in this case, bridges the gap between generations to one another. Thus, we can look at it as follows: that our goal is to be able to free ourselves from limitations and to connect to the next generations through our literary works. As we build that bridge, therefore, the question and challenge for us now is, how are we going to use our skills, literary skills at that, to battle for the right and for what is true? In a society which is now in the midst not only of the crisis of the pandemic of COVID-19, arouse, we are, and we have always been, ready to brave our way to make a difference in and for our nation. Today, we are very much honored to have none other than the poet and literary critic, our national artist for literature, Dr. Gemino H, as our guest speaker. I know that you are as excited as myself to hear and learn from him today. But I am even more thrilled in anticipation of listening to him read a poem of his choice in a short while. Indeed, we are more than grateful to you, Sir Jimmy, for accepting our invitation and joining us for this year's Open Mic series. Finally, please let me convey our sincerest thanks to the organizers of this event, the Department of Language and Literature Studies, our FEU Literature Study, and the Student Development Office, the Media Center Office, and our university library for making this event happen. Again, thank you very much and good afternoon.
May we give a round of applause for Mr. Genesis Borja. Roy, talking about online classes, how are you? I mean, now that we've applied the face-to-face learning, how are you coming up with it?
To be honest with you, adapting is a big step because we were online for a couple of years, but it's been exciting as, especially for me, a literature student, it's really been exciting. The stories I've been hearing to my peers, to the students, the faculty, it's really thrilling to be around people who have almost the same thinking as you and has the same passion in writing as you do. So it's been really exciting for me.
And it's very different to actually talk to people and to hear about
That is very true.
lectures, to hear about from your teachers. You can consult them, you can talk to friends, hang out with them. It's very different, and it really gives you that kind of college experience that you never got for 2 years, right?
Yeah, like Sir Borja told us, literature is building a bridge to from generation to generation. So the storytelling from years ago, from the past, be heard can be heard up until now to the present. So learning that, it's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. Now, let's talk about what today is.
We already established who we are today, what today is called, but to place it clearly, what is happening today talaga, Ash?
Right, Roy. Let us explain to you the matters of this event and some reminders that we all should get by as time passes by.
First and foremost, this event is brought to you by the FEU Department of Language and Literature,
The FEU Literature Society and Academic Affairs Office,
with special thanks to the Student Development Office and the FEU Library.
please give the mentioned an astounding round of applause. To continue, this event is an open mic poetry reading, which means that the registered readers will be reading their own poetries or literary pieces which were written by other poets. The following poems are a pilgrimage to historical awareness, reminiscing patriotism of the victims and survivors of the martial law. This will serve as a commemoration for those we have lost and for those who we still have today, but have suffered immensely at a time where freedom of expression was stolen away. And not just that, in this event, we also aim to see what courageous leadership looks like. Hence, our theme for today's event is nationalism and courageous leadership.
Before we formally start this event, we would like to send some reminders. Please observe silence when a participant is performing in front. Avoid unnecessary noises or silence your phones. And give respect to those who are speaking. Wear your mask properly, and lastly, enjoy the show.
Now, I have a question. Are you guys excited to meet our special guest for today? If yes, then without further ado, let me call on the head of the Department of Language and Literature, Dr. Emmanuel Gonzalez, to introduce you to our special guest.
BP Diana Montinola, Mr. Martin Lopez, Ms. Gracia Lintag, teachers, students, and to our virtual audience, good afternoon. Gemino H is a poet, professor, literary critic, and literary historian, known by many as Sir Jimmy. He is regarded as the foremost Filipino poet in the English language, a language Sir Jimmy would consider our very own, and rightly so. Sir Jimmy has had a storied life, a life that someone might one day wish to write about. Born in 1939, he spent his formative years in Manila before moving to Cebu, the home province of his father. During the war years, upon the end of the war, his father returned to Manila, where he spent his first year high school in this very own campus. Before his family transferred to the Diliman campus of UP to follow former FEU President Vidal A. Tan, who offered his father a teaching position at the Department of Spanish, today Department of European Languages. It was in UP where Sir Jimmy spent the rest of his college years and where in 1964 he graduated magna cum laude with a degree in English. Perhaps he already knew when that he wanted to become a teacher and a writer, because it wasn't long after when pursued his postgraduate studies under a Rockefeller scholarship at the University of Chicago, where he obtained his master's and doctorate degree in English literature. He returned to UP and has since served there in various capacities: Secretary of the University, Vice President for Academic Affairs, and Director of the UP Creative Writing Center. Though mostly he served as one of the most distinguished faculty of the College of Arts and Letters, reaching the rank of University Professor Emeritus. Ultimately, however, Sir Jimmy is a writer, or shall we say, a reader, because as he himself would admit, a writer can only be a good writer if he or she reads. Sir Jimmy has published countless collections of poetry, his genre of choice, literary anthologies and critical essays, among many others. And his life works, as Sir Jimmy is wont to say, has not escaped notice. Among his recognitions are Palanca Awards for Poetry, the National Book Award, the Premio Feronia, among many others. And most recently, Sir Jimmy was bestowed the highest honor of any Filipino writer, the Order of National Artist. His poems have been celebrated all over the world. And today, we are very fortunate and honored to have Sir Jimmy as our most special guest. With that, please join me in welcoming our national artist, Gemino Abad.
Wow.
Okay. I am. I am. I am at a loss for words to thank you for this honor. Yeah. What I will do is I will read to you a short essay that was already published in this magazine, San Telmo. Yeah. And the other side of San Telmo is Lenny Robredo. I think she should have been our president. In any case, I will just read this essay. It is short. Yeah? Okay. I am obsessed with language because we are our words. We are our words. Yeah? Yeah? Without language, we won't make any sense at all. No? Yeah. Now, so I am obsessed with language up to now. Yeah. And so this essay is called Why Write at All? Why write at all? Now that's the same thing as why speak at all? Why talk at all? Yeah? Okay. What we call our world is only our human reality. We have no other. There. Without language, we would be unable to make sense of anything because our thoughts and feelings would have no medium. We would have no memory, no history, no culture, no civilization without language. We have no access to other creatures' sense or consciousness of their environment, their reality, their world. In fact, you have no access to the consciousness of the other person. Unless the other person will say something about himself. Our consciousness is our psyche, our inner self, our mind and our heart. Mind, thoughts, heart, feeling. That is our psyche, our human nature, our soul, our spirit. If you believe in God, God is in your soul. He dwells in your soul. If you reflect, what happens? You go inside yourself, you go inside your inner self, you talk to yourself, you reflect. That's the hardest thing to do for any human being because that is the only way you will know yourself. Go inside yourself, reflect. What did I do today? I ask myself, who are you? Who are you, Jimmy? Who are you? What did you do today? What do you think is true? What do you think is real? What do you think is right? What do you think is right? Now, ikaw, who are you? That's the hardest thing to do. Self-knowledge, going inside yourself. Yeah. Language is our imagination's finest invention. They are one. Words are abstractions, concepts. We need to imagine what they express. The word evokes an image. The image lights up its meaning. To think well is to imagine well. Mind and imagination are one. Concepts without intuition are blind. Intuitions without concept, empty. All we are our words. You think with words, you express your feelings with words. We are our words. And all our words speak true. The poet Gertrude Stein says, a rose is a rose is a rose. Not a gomamela. A rose is a rose. A lion is a lion. A carabao is a carabao. No? The word speaks true. If a word's nature is truth saying, and we invented the word, what is human nature? Truth seeker. We always want to know what is true, what is real, what is right, what is just. You know, if you are serious about writing, you must be obsessed, obsessed with the etymology of words, the origin of words. If you look up consciousness, it's the same word as conscience. What is right? What is just? Conscience. Conscience is from the same word as consciousness. And both words, consciousness and conscience, come from Latin conscire, to know. And science is also come from the same word, scire, science, to know. Huh. You know? You cannot think without words. Impossible. All our words cry out for more life. Any text or word weave is a bearer of meaning. Meaning. Tagalog, saysay, significance. But at times, what has been shaped by language, wrought from language, has a depth of meaningfulness. In Tagalog, diwa, spirit, soul. You know, works of art have diwa, a spirit, a soul. When you write, where are you drawing from? You are drawing from your consciousness, your heart and your mind. What does that mean? You are drawing from your experience. Your experience, any experience is any experience is your consciousness of what is there. Consciousness. Yeah. So, as I said, when you have meaningfulness, your writing has meaningfulness, not just diwa or meaning, but meaningfulness. It has a depth. It has a certain depth. Huh? A writer's intuition or insight. What is intuition or insight? Yeah. It is as though whatever the thing is that you're writing about, you and then your reader is able to go inside, is able to grasp the inscape, the inner view of the thing That's intuition. A luminance of thought that no idea expresses. A radiance of feeling no thought apprehends. That is meaningfulness. You know, my dear friend, I don't want to encourage you. I don't want to discourage you from writing. No, you know, think of it this way. Writing is a skill. Okay, it's a skill. Anything, craft, skill, ability, they mean the same thing. No? If it is a skill, if it is a craft, no? Any occupation, no? Anything that you do well, no? You need skill. No? If you're a carpenter, you need skill. Okay. How do you acquire mastery in that skill? There's a saying, practice makes perfect. That's it. So, you write all the time. No? But when you write, you want to make sense. No? You are writing about an experience. What are your means to write about your experience? Only words. You have no other means. Therefore, you have to have an adequate mastery of language. How do you acquire mastery of language? You read. No? You read. And when you write, to think well is to imagine well. If you're writing a short story, the characters in your story or in your play or the speaker in your poem must come alive to your imagination. And if it comes alive in your imagination, by what means? With words and words. That's all you have. No? The characters in your story must come alive. And all you have for the characters in your story to come alive is the words of your story. How do you do that? Mastery of language. No? Okay? So don't be discouraged. Oh, no. I'm not here to discourage you from writing. We speak all the time. We write all the time. No? You just think. It's practice. No. If your occupation is writing, teaching, you have to have skill, correct? Practice makes perfect. Now remember that don't ever be discouraged. No, don't ever be discouraged. All we need is do it. You can do it. Father Delaney would tell us, the impossible only takes a little time. Don't give up. Okay? I think that's enough. I talk too much.
Thank you so much for that very warm and inspiring message, Mr. Abad.
I have not read the entire essay, but that's enough.
Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Gemino Abad.
Yes.
Rowie, as someone who writes, who are we today?
I want to say something more. The student said, I'm a teacher. No? I'm a teacher. I think that's who I am, a teacher, no? A writer. Okay. Those of you who are interested in writing, my son Diego can give you my email. You can write me. I will answer you. If you have any questions about writing, language, poetry, ganyan, you write me. You want me to look at your poem? I will look at it and I will tell you what I think about it, very honestly. But never to discourage you. We want to be good writers. Okay? Yeah. Okay. You give anybody interested. You can email me.
That's a very nice and welcoming speech by Dr. Gemino Abad. I'll make sure to send you some of my work, sir. I'd like your inputs. I'd like to send you my poems, maybe a book someday.
That's what
Yes, I'll talk to Sir Abad.
I am hard of hearing. That's my disadvantage. What were your question?
No, I was asking if what was your email so I could send my book. I'm gonna send my book to you, sir. I'm gonna send you my book.
Okay, Rory, as someone, like my question a while ago, as someone who actually writes and is a literature major, who are we today?
We're poets.
We're poets, yeah.
We're the writers of the night, defenders of the day. We are creative students.
And as someone who writes, we always ask often, who are we today? And from what just Dr. Abad just said is, what is right or what is just? And to think well is to imagine well. It's actually something that I very much connect to as a writer. We always have to think about what we say, about what we write, and we use our imagination most of the time about it. And it's really nice to hear from someone that has the same mindset and has the same thinking as us, as someone who writes and loves words so much that we do it every day and it's part of our lives.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add what Sir Gemino was telling us. Let's not be discouraged. If our work doesn't appeal to what the people around us think, let's keep on writing. Like Sir said, keep on working. Practice your craft.
Yes, don't ever be discouraged. There's something for you in this world, in this context. Yes. So, Roy? And since our beloved Dr. Abad had already moved us with this very inspiring message, we think that it is already time to witness the students and faculties of Far Eastern University to deliver poems that embody our culture and history. But before anything else, let us have a short break and watch the performance of our very own IAS sessionistas who will sing their own rendition of Susie by Ben and Ben.
Let's give them a warm round of applause, everyone. The IAS Sessionistas.
While waiting for the IAS sessionistas, Roy, again, are there any poems or events in FEU that you would like to invite everyone in?
Yes, from the students from Language and Literature, I'd like to invite you for our TAM Hunt next week. We will be placing pub mats and schedules in our social media accounts. Thank you.
Right, so before we proceed, Sir Manny, Sir Genesis, can we invite you here for a short photo op with Sir Jimmy and SVP Kiana? Simon? Can we flash tech? Can we flash the one with Sir Jimmy's background, please? I'm Gracial, Mart, Sir Roger, you wanna join? Ariel, wanna join?
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so before I start, my name is Sev. I am from the IS Sessionistas. I am an instrumentalist, and frankly, this is my first time singing in front of people, so be gentle. So I will be singing my rendition of Susie, and I hope you guys can enjoy. As this is a song about patriotism, I wanted to make it sound as cool as I can, so again, hope you enjoy. If you know this song, you can sing along. Ika'y nakulong sa maling pag-iisip. Pangarap mo raw mananatiling isang panaginip. Sabi nila'y di raw kakayanin. Nagkamali ka ng napuntahan, pero ikaw ay natauhan. Umaling ka lang sa tamang daan. Ilang beses man madapat sumubsob, kailan may di matatag ang iyong loob. Mga batikos, wag nang diringgin, pagkawalan lang yan sa hangin. Bukas ay malapit na rin dumating. Lumaban ka pa rin. Balikan kung bakit ka nagsimula. Bago mo sabihin na ayaw mo na, wag mong susulohin, di ka mag-isa. Ikaw pa rin ang susi sa mundo ng iyong tadhana. Nakulong, nakulong, nakulong ka. Nakulong, nakulong, nakulong ka. Nakulong, nakulong, nakulong ka. Nakulong, nakulong, nakulong. Nakulong, nakulong, nakulong ka. Nakulong, nakulong, nakulong ka. Nakulong, nakulong, nakulong ka. Sa maling pag-iisip mo'y nakulong ka. Pasanin man ng mundo, wag ka lang susuko. Nandito lang ako. Mga batikos, wag nang diringgin, kawalan lang yan sa hangin. Bukas ay malapit na rin dumating. Lumaban ka pa rin. Balikan kung pa nagsimula. Huwag mong sabihin na ayaw mo na. Huwag mong susuluhin, di ka mag-isa. Ikaw pa rin ang susi sa pinto ng iyong tadhana. Ikaw pa rin ang susi sa pinto ng iyong tadhana. Thank you.
Wow, that was a really mind-blowing performance, and we can all relate to it. And it also related to Dr. Sir Gemino Abad's speech earlier. Those minds. Makes everything just right. But before we move on, may we call on today's participants, students and faculties of Far Eastern University.
May we please ask the participants to stand and walk. Walk and take your seats behind our national artists.
These are the faces of our speakers for today, or poets for today.
Let us give them a round of applause, everyone. Those are our readers and poets. Now, may I ask you to please be seated? Thank you. Now, going back to our intermission number, it seems like it embraces us with its warmth and comfort as we face another day of our battle with life and helps us conquer the uncertainties of the universe.
Speaking of embraces, our first performer will deliver one of Mr. Gemino Abad's original poems entitled The Book of Embraces. We are very sure that he is familiar to you all, because aside from being one of the faculty of the Department of Language and Literatures, he is also one of the twin sons of our special guest. Everyone, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Diego Jose Abad.
Hello, good afternoon. Okay, I guess I'll just start reading now. I'm vexed with myself tonight that I, fitful tiller of words, cannot write you a poem warm as your ironing board, well shaped like your finest vase, which should tell everlasting your truth, clear like any ordinary morning. When the smog lifts to wide open skies, what is your truth, or what is love? Where you move without ripple in my blood, there the clods of deep little hurts, oh forgiven nameless in memory, and yet, without my conscious intent, let to grow like thorny touch-me-nots, and rankly creep with tiny purple eyes. To demean me darkly in my sight, how their bramble cut my soul, where I would not look to save myself. Why do I struggle toward your truth? Where words and words swirl about, dust in my speech without power. To trace their meaning in my blood, I coax like a conscientious gardener. From dead clods their hurtful bloom, then look upon my soul's wildness, that you have loved and strained. From our day's erasure of worship, syllable by syllable, the struck bliss and dazzle of our secret book of embraces.
And that was Book of Embraces from Mr. Gemino Abad, read by his son, Mr. Diego Jose Abad, which is our teacher, right?
Yes, our teacher.
Our teacher last sem, and now we fail to be his students again, even if we really, really, really want to.
I want to ask Dr. Gemino. I would like to ask Booster, what does it feel like having your son read one of your original poems?
Again.
What does it feel like having your son read one of your original poems? Yeah.
Well, more than glad. Much more than glad.
And from reading Dr. Abad's poem, let us now hear an original piece written by one of the students of Far Eastern University, and it will be performed by a second-year Bachelor of Arts in Language and Literature Studies student. So sit back, relax, and may we present to you Masamang Pumikit Muli, written by Hannah De Jesus and performed by Claudia De Ocampo.
Warm round of applause, please.
Mga matang nakapiring, nakabusal na bibig, at mga katawang nakatali na tila ba isang longganisa. Mga kaluluwang patuloy na kumakatok sa isang salamin na kabaw, tila humihiling ng hustisya. Salamin na kabao na napunta sa maling destinasyon na hindi katanggap-tanggap, sapagkat ang mga nawawalang biktima ay patuloy pa rin hinahanap. Takot na naibigay sa pamilya at sa buong bansa. Bakit? Bakit hinayaan na maupo ang uniko iho? Nakalimot na nga ba tayo? O sadyang malupit ang nagagawa ng pera? Mga pangalang napakadungis, patuloy na pinababango. Kailan tayo mumulat sa katotohanan na ang boses ng masa ay mas makapangyarihan? Pamilyang napalayas ay hindi na dapat ipinabalik. At hindi na dapat tayo pang pumikit.
That was very nice poem. It really hits different when it's in our own language, right? I mean, I love the English language, but when talked about Filipino language, it just gives a different kind of chills. It gives us a different kind of feeling hearing it from our native language. So now, Roy?
Partner, I heard that we will be presenting 4 original written poems by our very own FEU students today. Great, right? It's truly great. And since we heard the first original poem written, I could say our students really gave their heart and courage to their poems. Now, may we call on Princess Elaine Chavez, a second-year Bachelor of Arts in Language and Literature Studies student, to deliver her very own poem entitled Her Defenders and Protectors. May we give her a round of applause, please.
Visitors from the West claimed to have discovered her, gave her a name after their blue-blooded master. But she was born long ago, before they found her treasure. It was a place so magnificent, a beauty beyond measure, surrounded by the deep blue, home of beautiful creatures, where there are pearls aplenty, sure to bring pleasure. Where her children lived, surrounded by groves, green plains, perfect cone mountains, hidden coves, also chocolate hilltops separated by sea, where various animals roam and the birds fly freely. The visitors were swift, they wanted to possess. Sadly, some of her children were easily impressed by the statues they presented that if you worship, you'll be blessed. But there were also those children that remained loyal to their mother, the land they won't surrender. So, in a fight, they became her defender, her protector. This is not the end, however, for some time later, victory was earned by the Western voyagers, who later became known as her children's oppressors. Countless moons were spent under these soldiers and pastors that made even some of her children act like traitors. They idolized their way, their culture, She was nothing but a memory, an idea of freedom they're afraid to venture. The wait was long, but a group came along. Courageous leaders ready to sound the gong. With different skills, a unique team they make. But with their love for her, they'll fight together through pain and heartaches. With pens and papers, these new defenders arise to enlighten their brothers and sisters that something was wrong. They opened eyes that became their allies. Swords and violence are then added to the freedom song, accompanied with battle cries, knowing they could die just to see the sunrise. Two more visitors tried to claim her and own her, but her children refused. They fought to protect her. Now, here we are, her current children, not facing a war against visitors like then. We are living the dream her defenders, our ancestors, died for. Then how come is it that in our generation, loving her is almost like a chore? We are taking what we have for granted, and every time we declare, Western's better, it's what I wanted. That as soon as we finish getting educated, I'm going abroad and stay there instead. Do we even realize the things we said? Words that make our ancestors' sacrifices discarded. So, how can we make it up to our predecessors? We can start by following laws, avoid becoming cursed, doing what's right, making up for our earths, helping the community, doing our shares, choosing the right leaders to fight for what's hers. If we apply this in our life, then we are on the right course, because we are honoring our ancestors by loving our motherland. We've become her new defenders and protectors.
May we give a round of applause for Princess Elaine Chavez with her original, Her Defenders and Protectors. Oh, how grateful we are feeling right now to be able to hear those poems that really cling to our theme, nationalism and courage leaders. Wait a minute, partner. Have you ever asked why our event today is called Verse Opener, the Mic Open series?
You know, partner, I'm always quite curious why we call it Verse Opener. Why is that so?
Let me explain to you, partner, and to everyone. The event is called Verse Opener because it was rooted from the term eyes opener. The writers aim to open the eyes of the audiences and people around them through their poems, because in time of darkness, literature will kindle a light to the blinded souls.
What a witty little title there, partner, ah. And now, I know everyone is already filled with anticipation and excitement to see another performance that highlights one of our poems from Dr. Gemino H's edited anthology, The Man of Earth, an anthology of Filipino poetry and verse from English, 1905 to the mid-50s. May we present to you Desiree T. Banyares, a fourth-year Bachelor of Arts in Language and Literature Studies student, performing Fernando Maguerero's Freedom Sword.
Round of applause, please.
The steel your hands have wielded, bathed in your country's tears, shall wound no more our foes of yore, now dawn the peaceful years. But peace ends not its story, nor dulls with rust its blade, forever bright, from the forge a light, where freedom's sword is made. Well may you leave your children, the sword that in your hand you bravely bore in days of yore to save your motherland. Nor thirst or hunger weakened, your force is on you pressed, and fed but fruit or bitter root, fought on and knew no rest. That heritage or bulwark in all the days to be, will cherish still from every ill the heirloom of the free. Freedom Sword by Fernando Maria Herrero. Thank you.
Thank you, Ate Desiree T. Banyares, a fourth-year Bachelor of Arts in Language and Literature student with Freedom Sword. Hi, Freedom Sword. What a heartwarming poem. Partner, do you know that the poem Desiree had read was dedicated to the veterans of the Philippine Revolution? That is why we can really feel it deep within our souls as an individual and as a part of the society. So before we proceed for our next performer, partner, what part of the campus are we on right now?
We are at the special collection room of FEU Library, found at the Nicanor Reyes Hall, and the partner is this building. You can find here the museum of another national artist for literature, Nick Joaquin. It's right there behind you. It's right behind you, ba? As you can see. Nick Joaquin is the most distinguished Filipino writer in English writing. He wrote plays, novels, poems, short stories, and tons of essay. That is why we are very pleasured to uphold this event, knowing that we are guided by the two national artists for literature, Mr. Nick Joaquin and Dr. Gemino H.
You are right, Roy. We are very honored to witness this prestigious event. So let us continue the poetry reading with another excerpt from Dr. Gemino Abad's edited anthology, A Native Clearing, the sequel to Man of Earth. May we present to you Frances Ann Lucero, a third-year Bachelor of Arts in Language and Literature Studies student performing El Baens Ramos' Rizal Reincarnated. Will you give her a round of applause, please?
Rizal sits, reincarnated in a rocking chair. His coat, his eyes, how history can lie. The spirit a thief, trying to be wiser than the man. He sits staring with a magic quill, writing on a blank page with unseen letters. The moon hangs over the barred window, and the lamp plays with the white mud. The hero must speak in a foreign tongue and forge La Liga Filipina. With the brave, but not strong enough, the dreamer is still dreamer, who still would not fight, but his big heart sees the vision still. Nothing moves but what is not, and the spirit is infused with the blood of heroes and executioners, truth and beauty, genius and creativity, through lust and love, through vacillation and perdition. The blood is stirred long before, where dying is not service. Rizal rocks on his chair, looks over the walls to the river beyond, where a caravan of lilies is on the move, to the esteros of the slums. Rizal Reincarnated, El Baens Ramos. Thank you.
Again, Frances Ann Lucero, everybody.
Roy.
Those are all amazing performances. A lot of emotions and pent-up feelings just rushing through every word of our performer says.
Right, it gave me literal chills. Especially if you read between the lines of their words, it just makes sense. Just like how every melody in a song makes us feel sad or happy or broken, even if we're not, it's a magical power that we creatives have.
And that magical power will be once again shared to everyone as our Ayas Sesionistas once again take the stage to give us a break from our heartbreaks with another heartbreak, ironically. Everyone, the Ayas Sesionistas.
Let's give them a big round of applause.
Hello, good morning ulit. How are you guys enjoying the poetry performances so far? Yes. This next song also sparks about patriotism, and we specifically picked this song as it tales to not just politics, not just a lot of the current issues today, but it's also an insignia of a new beginning.
Ituring ang iyong sariling tagahawi ng ulap sa kalangitang kulimlim. Kampanang yayanig sa bawat nilalang magigising ang lupang kulang sa dilim. Ikaw ang magsasabing kaya mo to, tulad ng tangnaw sa tanang bagyo. Sigaw mo sa hangin, tumindig at magsilbing liwanag, liwanag sa dilim. Harapin mo magiting bagong awitin, ikaw ang liwanag sa dilim.
Whoa, whoa,
At sa paghamon mo sa agos ng ating kasaysayan, uukit ka ng bagong daan. Ikaw ang aakit ng kaya mo to, isang panalangin sa gitna ng gulo. Sigaw mo sa hangin, tumindig at magsilbing liwanag, liwanag sa dilim. Harapin mong magiting ang bagong awitin, ikaw ang liwanag sa dilim. Sigaw mo sa hangin, tumindig at magsilbing liwanag, liwanag sa dilim. Harapin mong magiting ang bagong awitin, ikaw ang liwanag sa dilim. Isigaw mo sa hangin, tindig at magsilbing liwanag, liwanag sa dilim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you po.
Once again, we are the Isolationistas, and we thank you.
Thank you so much, Aya. Sessionistas, again, a round of applause for that very wonderful performance that we all sang in our minds. I know it. Kinanta niyo yan sa utak niyo. Now, the performances are not yet over. That was only the half of it. And to start off the next half, we have a member of our esteemed faculty, Mr. Joshua Taiko, to perform another poem from the book, A Native Clearing, Everyone. Mr. Joshua Taiko performing Galacio E. Guillermo's Not Less Worse Than the Greek Troops.
Let's give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Your coldness is not less worse than the Greek troops sacking Troy. Ramparts collapse, lovers and warriors perish through weapons decreed to destroy. War spoils thrown in one great heap, corselets and headgear and heavy shields, in one of which is told, perhaps, an afternoon under those leaves, whose meaning is peace, lovers conversing. Surely they are in one another lost, and the flute's player's airs declaring, as well-thought course of life a happy boast. I wander unhalted through city streets alone, wind blown as a warrior's ashes. Thus the world too is my urn, with no better fate than those older lovers. I now disclaim ownership of dreams. The afternoon is hot, inconsequential whether I survive or not. Not less worse than a Greek truce.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Joshua Taiko. Partner, do you know that the poem Mr. Joshua Taiko had just read talks about a war between two different countries which caused many deaths and how the people continue to dream for a beautiful life and eventually losing the fight?
I actually didn't know that, partner. Thank you for sharing it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how hope ablaze people's courage to face tomorrow with their heads up high. So now, let us hear another original poem from a student of Far Eastern University that mirrors every corner of nationalism. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Unfurling the Fiasco of Martial Law, written by Therese Baliola and performed by Nika Acuesta. A round of applause.
Family clan in infamy sets the stage of martial law. Despite the controversies and public testimonies, the Pearl of the Orient is still their welcoming abode. A great deal of misinformation still thrives within the pawns. It's a Filipino thing to keep reminiscing. The golden age, a product of sensationalism. The asphalt was stained with crimson, bullets ricochet, with horrors of screams of activists. Yet, the present yearns for this leadership for the past nightmare. Academic books and the news are no longer valuable for facts today. Creative online manipulation spreads like a plague. Critical thinking and curiosity are no longer in play. Indeed, rumors can be true if many believe it. A first lady with the facade of Emma Bovary, and a husband willing to defy everything for her. It would have been a romantic story if only innocent lives weren't involved in the strife. Infrastructures arose, along with it, a growing debt, and an economy that's constantly getting wrecked. In the name of justice, to fend off rebels, only white chrysanthemum wreaths of civilians increased. An extensive practice, cronyism in Malacanang was catered by the avarice of the leader masked with brilliance, to have the lives of the people in the bloodstained hands of the military was enough to ensue torture and a place in the afterlife with a single suspicion. Alas, all things good and bad end within this mundane world. Even the powerless can be strong if they band together. A revolution came into place to kick the players out of the game. Although temporary exile for a ruthless dictator is quite lame. A call for justice by the victims of martial law is still transpiring, but it is still faced with the tragedy of deception of the current administration. The future of the country is still a mystery. Its fate is now in the son of the dictator who hides incompetence in the shadow of unity. Politics is a cruel game for those who only think about gain. But its tables can be turned around any time with a leader who listens to the voices of the unheard. Only time will tell if the events in history will again unfold. Unfurling the Fiasco of Martial Law by Therese Baliola. Thank you.
That was Nika Acuesta, everyone, reading Unfurling the Fiasco of Martial Law, written by Therese Baliola. A great piece indeed. You can really feel the emotions that lingers in every single word that the performer utters. And we know that everyone is already looking forward to watching the next performer, so wait no more. Presenting to you another original piece from a FEU student that will unchain the unending loop of oppression and ill-gotten power. Here is Adrian Nabong performing Chanel Avila's Kalawit Island.
Round of applause,
A round of applause, please.
Ang boses ng Tipano ay umalingaw sa islang may kalaparan. Kaisa ang pukpok ng babandil, ang oras at buhay ay nagkasubukan. Kapayapaan biglang nagambala sa agos ng nagbabagang balita, kailan pa na ituring ang karapatan ng tao ay labis na binabasura. Umiyak, nagmakaawa, Sumigaw, humingi ng saklolo na parang mga kunehong nasilayan ang kulay abong lobo. 254 na pamilyang inilikas. Bagamat hindi naman nangangailangang sila ay iligtas. Tahanang kawayan ay pumanaw dahil sa isang mapusok na pasya na nanggaling sa isang maluhong ginang na naglinlang at nagkaila. Pagmamahal at pangangalaga ng isang ina, sabi niya. Sabi niya ng taimtim. Ngunit halimaw na may mapungos ng ngipin ang kanyang totoong lihim. Natapos ang taning ng angkang nasa tuktok ng kadena ng pagkain. Subalit ang realidad na kinakaharap ay hindi madaling lunukin. Humihiling na lamang sa kalawakan na hindi na mauulit muli. Pagkat ang tinubuong lupa ay hindi nilikha para maging isang palamuti. Kalawit Island by Chanel Avila.
An astounding performance, everyone.
You know, poems are truly heavy and hit harder when they are in Tagalog, yes?
Yes,
They're
it
really,
really is indeed.
the story is there as we can relate to it, but other than that, we have great performers today, partner. I'm sure that the faculties and guests are very proud, and to maintain the atmosphere of this event, may we call on Sofia Bianca Item, a fourth-year Bachelor of Arts in Language and Literature Studies student, performing one of the poems from another anthology edited by our very own Dr. Gemino H. A Habit of Shores. Everyone, let's listen to Donnell B. Pasis, to Poets Turn Propagandists.
A round of applause, please.
Let us now sing of Goebbels and Caligula, though nobody listens. Like Cheever said, times are venereal. Forget the gore and his songs of rice birds. The blue, blue dreams, like Lorca and his early misspent youth. Neruda, overwhelmed by the peasants' inconsolable sadness. You shall soon learn the tenacity of politicians, of police dogs and pimps. Or you shall soon be visionaries with mansions, immaculate gardens and lawns, to hell with conscience and lipo skies. The bankers and barbarians have overcome. Poetry does not make anything happen. The season of metaphors has gone, has burnt itself out like a small fire in some useless yard. To Poets Turn Propagandists by Donald B. Passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Ate Sol. As we approach the end of today's event with our last performer in line, we would just like to acknowledge our lovely guests that gave their time to attend our event and watch the students and faculties perform. A big thank you to our dear guests for attending today's event.
Now, our last performer, a faculty of Far Eastern University and the new organization advisor of FEU Literature Society, Cecilia Bethany Elmido, performing Cuernos de Negros by Elsa Martinez Coscuela. Let us give her a round of applause, please.
The gentle rustle of mountain spirits unspool memory as the lamplight leaps into a sudden dance. Once a child, he had watched his father clearing grass. Grown wild, he had sought and staked his kinship with a sower's stance, and drove the plow with his bare hands. Up in the sky, he had scanned the slopes of his father's mountains. Gently winding down, the river ran from the bubbling spirits and split and multiplied across the heaving fields, so richly pied with fruits, and ferns and flowers now scourged by dry winds, whipped by the sun's thieving eye. Midnight, under the cold white moon and dim dying stars, he returns and wonders, still at the curious call of dark birds, the plop of frogs on a quiet pond, cicadas crying about the trees, the swish of sights at harvest time, and the boy that ran, singing down the winding mountain slopes. At dawn, through the clearing fog, steel structures rise close to the sky, dig deep between the mountain's horns, sucked from its stones its majestic core of power. In time, the trees that will remain will fall. The springs will die and will genuflect before the powerful spires. In time, they will not remember, but perhaps when they grow old, they will see visions of cuernos de negros in their dreams.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am.
An amazing performance from another one of our faculty members here in FEU. Like they say, iba talaga ang faculty members ng FEU. Let us give another round of applause for all of them.
A loudest round of applause for all the performers today. And now, since the students and faculties had already read their poems, let us have our honored guest, Mr. Gemino H. who will share one of his works with us one last time today.
I'm sure we're all very excited to hear Dr. Gemino Abad. Yes? Round of applause.
I teach my child. I teach my child to survive. I begin with our words, the simple words first and last. They are hardest to learn. Words like home or friend or to forgive. These words are relations. They are difficult to bear. Their fruits are unseen. Or words that promise or dream. Words like honor or certainty or cheer. Rarest of sound, their roots run deep. These are words that aspire. They cast no shade. These are not words to speak. These are the words of which we consist, indefinite, without other ground. My child is without syllables to utter him, captive yet to his origin in silence. By every word to rule his space, he is released. He is shaped by his speech. Every act too is first without words. There's no rehearsal to adjust your deed from direction of its words. The words are given, but there's no script. Their play is hidden. We are their stage. These are the words that offer to our care both sky and earth. The same words that may elude our acts. If we speak them, but we cannot meet their sound, they strand us still in our void, blank, like the child with the uphill silence of his words climb. And so, I teach my child to survive. I begin with our words, the simple words first that last. Thank you.
A beautiful poem from Dr. Gemino Abad, yes. I think we can all agree on that. Words are given to us, but it is us who structures them and plays them out. It is us who builds them and make one with ourselves and who we are. Thank you very much, Dr. Abad, for imparting your work in today's event.
And now, as we actually reach towards the end of today's event, Let us first show our appreciation for your presence today and for our performers. Let's have our participants on stage with us here as we grant them this certificate of participation. May we ask Dr. Emmanuel Gonzalez to give out the certificates to each of the participants. May I ask the participants to rise?
Stand up.
Far Eastern University Institute of Arts and Sciences Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to National Artist for Literature Gemino H. Abad for his valuable contribution as speaker during the verse opener, the open mic series with the theme Courage and Nationalism, given this 7th day of September 2022 at Far Eastern University, Manila. Signed, yours truly, and the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, Maria Teresa Trinidad P. Tino, PhD.
Round of applause, please.
Okay, and also to to Diego Jose Abad for the reader. Claudio De Ocampo, Princess Elaine Chavez, Desiree T. Banyares, Frances Ann Lucero.
An applause for our poets, please. Come on.
Joshua Michael M. Tycho, Adrian Nabong, Nika Acuesta, Sofia Bianca Item, and Miss Cecilia Bettina Elmido.
A big round of applause for everyone, everybody. And thank you, Dr. Emmanuel Gonzalez, and to our Associate Dean for giving out these certificates. Again, thank you to all our participants. And of course, for our esteemed guest, Dr. Gemino H. Abad, for joining us this afternoon.
And to formally close today's event, may we have Ma'am Gracia Lintag for the closing remarks.
A round of applause, everybody.
Nelson Mandela, a strong advocate for freedom and justice, once said, and I quote, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." End of quote. Today's afternoon poetry reading is a celebration of bravery. The bravery of each one who are present here and who made this poetry reading possible, because this creates a significant mark in FEU history. As we have here with us, Dr. Gemino Abad, the National Artist for Literature for 2022. A round of applause again to Dr. Jeannie Abad. Thank you, sir. We thank the Department of Language and Literature, headed by the Department Chair, Dr. Emmanuel Gonzalez, and Institute of Arts and Sciences Dean Rowena Capulong Reyes, and Associate Dean Genesis Borja, for organizing an enrichment activity that complements and supplements curricular programs and classroom instruction. We also recognize the enthusiasm and passion of our student leaders from the FEU Literature Society in playing a significant role in making this poetry reading truly memorable. A round of applause to DLL, IS, and FEU Literature Society. In the same breath, we recognize the efforts of offices and units who have helped the Department of Language and Literature Society in the conduct of this activity. The unwavering support and assistance of Academic Affairs Office, Academic Services, Corporate Affairs, Media Center, Marketing and Communication Office, FEU Center for the Arts, Information Technology Services, Facilities and Technical Services, Logistics Office, Safety and Security Office, Library Services, and Student Development are instrumental in ensuring that we deliver a noteworthy event. Your courage to go beyond expectation is truly heartwarming. It also takes courage to rise above one's anxiety in speaking in front of our esteemed guest, Dr. Jimmy Abad, read his unforgettable and inspiring poem, and sharing original poems from our students and faculty. We appreciate our brave students and faculty, as well as our MCs, who pour their hearts in giving life to this event, giving life to the words written, and giving life to the poems written. Your beautiful rendition and sharing of your original poems usher us an inspiration behind these poems and ignite courage and patriotism. And lastly, we are deeply grateful to our National Artist for Literature, Dr. Jimmy Abad, having you here with us in the area beside another national artist, Nick Joaquin, in the building designed by another national artist, Pablo Antonio, the Nicanor Reyes Hall, is something amazing for all of us. Being inspired with your works, your poems, your love for literature, your life experiences, as you share them today with us, has encouraged us to use poetry as a means to understand the world around us and a way to express our thoughts, feelings, and ideals. Isa lang kaming simpleng manunulat na humahabi ng tula para maipahayag ang damdamin sa loobin at pangarap. At isa tong malaking karangalan para sa amin na maipahayag ang damdamin at ang damdamin na ito maipakita at mapakinig sa iba at mapukaw sa iyong mga binahagi. Isa lang po kami sa mga nabigyan nyo ng inspirasyon. Batid ko, nakasama natin ng mga mag-aaral at guro dito sa Special Collections Room ng library. At kasama natin online na sa pamagitan ng FEU official Facebook page ay lubos na nagpapasalamat sa inyong presensya. At pagtugon sa aming imbitasyon, kulang ang salitang salamat. Sana madama ng iyong puso na lubos po kami nagpapasalamat. Masaya na nandito kayo ngayon. Isa tong hindi makakalimutan na karanasan. Maraming salamat po. However, our journey to courage and patriotism does not end today. After reading, writing, and listening to the poems of Dr. Abad, our journey continues as we fight for what is right, what is just, and what is true. Let our voices be heard through the intricate works of our pen and tell the story that we are brave Tamaraws who battle for the right. Let us always be light bearers, and as Dr. Abad wrote in his poem, Care of Light, and I quote, "So at the day's end, I am her lamp lighter on her silent asteroid among books, paper, rubble of chalk." End of line. Magandang hapon po at maraming salamat.
Thank you, Ma'am.
Applause.
Thank you, Ma'am Gracia Lintag. Thank you to everyone who came to watch and listen to today's event.
Again, this has been Roel Iallarina Jr.
And this is Ashley Ignacio, and it's your MCs for this afternoon. Thank you and have a joyous and productive day to all of you.